Hello, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today, I have two guests, and my new friends are going to tell us who they are, what they do, and what they love about what they do.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it so much. We love having these wonderful conversations with other women in business and especially women in finance because we are few and far between. I'm Brittney Fairweather, and I am the Chief Business Development Officer for TRX Capital. And we are a private money lender that focuses on residential real estate investments.
And I'm the other Brittney, so there's two of us. I'm Brittany Starkey, and I'm the Chief Compliance Officer for TRX Capital. And like Brittany said, we're a real estate lender. We like to think of ourselves as even more than that. We're, a real estate partner for our developers. And I think, something that we love about what we do is just that every day we're helping people with their, financial dreams and freedoms and grow their businesses. And, we're very passionate about real estate and real estate investment. We think it's just such a wonderful way for people to build wealth, and we're excited. And one of our passions is to, get more women into the industry and to feel more confident being investors themselves and finance, all the things.
I think one of the things that we have across the company that we all are really passionate about is education, whether that's educating new investors who are coming into the space or educating younger next generation investors that are coming, trying to learn that financial independence and financial literacy, not only just in real estate, but in all aspects of finance and investing. And so I think that's one of the things that keeps us all motivated and keeps us together, is we have that really like-minded passion for education.
Oh, definitely. That's the same mantra I use. The more you can educate people, you build their confidence, you build their, their foundation, and you can see how much they, just blossom from it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a bit more about the real estate side. Like what is there a niche area of real estate, or is it like more generalized? Tell me a little bit more about what you focus on.
So we focus on the residential investment real estate. So any business purpose loans, anyone who's buying assets to either renovate and sell, new construction that's going to be resold, or if they're planning on holding those for rental properties to grow a portfolio. So any aspect of business purpose, residential real estate. So we don't do anything commercial, nothing industrial, warehouse, anything like that. So it all ties back to our passion and our love for creating housing for our country and in the local markets where we really know that there's a strong need for housing, whether that be assets that are going to be sold to a homeowner or assets that are going to be occupied by tenants, which both are equally as important. And so we focus on the residential side, the investment space, but all types of shapes and sizes nationwide. So we work with investors who have their very first rental property and they only have one and they're trying to grow and expand. And we work with investors who have, several $1 billion of real estate under management.
Oh, wow. That's a big range. So tell me how you both wound up here, and it seems like you work really well together. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, we've known each other for 20 years.
Yeah.
We've been working together for 15 years. So it feels like, our whole life practically. And we've been doing this a long time. So we knew each other in high school, and that's kind of how we got connected together with Trixie, who's, our founder and CEO. And, we've been building real estate related companies, for this whole time. This is not our first lending iteration. We've had another lending company that we've previously sold. And we've had real estate auction companies. We've been investors ourselves. So just anything really in the real estate space, we've probably touched it. And so, this is exciting for us because we're kind of back to our roots. This is how we started, was lending, and it's something that we're very passionate about. And so, yeah, and we're back here again.
Wow, that's fun. Sounds like
Yes,
fun.
literal children we were when we
Yeah.
met and we started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's a trick. It's like once you get over 20, 25 years, you don't count the years. You're like, it's
Yeah.
over 20, it's over 25. I mean,
Yeah.
I've started doing that because I
You're
started doing
like,
math.
it's
I'm like, we're just going to call it over 25 at this point.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So how do borrowers find you? Like, do you work through, are there intermediaries? How does a person like myself come to you and how do they find out about you?
So it's a lot of different ways, really. We do work with brokers, we do work with real estate agents, and then we also work directly with our borrowers themselves. So some borrowers are either, just more affluent in the different private money lenders that are out there, whether that's because they're in the marketplace looking or they hear of someone from another investor. But we also do work with, local professionals, real estate agents, property management companies, mortgage brokers. And those are the people that usually someone would go to who's kind of trying to get into the space and trying to figure out the best way to get started. And I would always recommend new investors go to your local professionals, whether that be a contractor or a real estate agent or a mortgage broker or any of the above, anyone that's going to help you with that project. The best resources that you're going to find are going to be local in your market because they are going to know who to go to. And that's who we do get a lot of business from, especially for newer investors, is some of those local market professionals.
Yeah, trade
Yeah, that's
shows as
pretty cool.
well. We're at a lot of conferences and trade shows. Those are always a good place to start, to find out. And then for us, a lot of it is just, years in the industry and referral business. We
Right.
have a lot of borrowers that we've worked with, for, 10,
15
15
years.
years. And so, they kind of, whenever we're back in the game, they'll come, and find us. So we stay in contact with everybody.
Yeah, so referrals, word of mouth. I mean,
Yes.
obviously if you're in your industry and you're even, doing a good job and you have recurring business or people saying like, oh, I know Brittany and Brittany or the Brittnys. I don't know how you do it, but
Yeah.
Blonde and red.
yeah, there we go. And like, people saying, hey, I've worked with them, they've done a great job, they're very classy, this, that, and the other thing. Like that goes so much further than, just looking them up yourself because, they've had the experience with you and they're sharing that experience with the potential new client.
Absolutely.
100%. And there's so many options, in the marketplace now that, it really is, you want those referrals and that word of mouth
Yeah.
confirmation, because it really lends that legitimacy.
Right, right. I'm assuming, and I shouldn't assume, but with the higher interest rate environment, has the borrowing slowed down because people are a little like hesitant about borrowing at the higher levels, or what are you saying?
No, not so much. I mean, so our space is kind of traditionally higher interest, since this
Okay.
is private money, right? It's interesting because when we first started, it was considered hard money and it was,
Mm,
very uninstitutional. It was very scattered, all individual investors. And kind of our previous company was one that really kind of pushed and got the first institutional money and kind of like the landscape has changed. So now the industry is more kind of interest rate sensitive to stuff that's happening, with the Fed, but they're still expecting a higher level of interest rate. And they build that into their projects, right? And so there's always real estate investors, no matter what cycle the market is in. They tend to just change their exit models, hold versus sell, versus, longer term, shorter term. They build things in to, their renovations or, maybe they're going to scale back here. So it's something that, because you're not talking about a consumer, client, it's a business client, it is part of their business. So I mean, Brittany, you can chime in as well here too. But I don't, we don't really see like a slowdown necessarily, from the borrower side.
oh, it's
No, we're not.
interesting.
Yeah, we're not seeing a slowdown. I think to Brittany's point, the investors that we work with can't plan for the cost of capital. within their budgets. They account for that. And so if they need to adjust other places for the increased cost in the market, they'll do that accordingly, whether that means they have to be a little bit more conservative on the price that they're paying for the property, or maybe they don't quite get as much of leverage, because generally the higher amount of leverage you get, the higher your interest rate becomes. So maybe they'll account for putting in a little bit more of their own equity as opposed to taking so much debt. And that can be a way that they mitigate some of the increased cost as well. As Brittany said, in other areas too, maybe scaling back in some other construction related areas or other expenses, but it's always usually planned for and accounted for ahead of time, and it's kind of baked into what they're offering for the property.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Very, very cool. What was I going to ask you? Oh, well, so if people want to learn a little bit more about what you're doing, where would they go to find that?
We are all over social media. So we have a nice big push for that, begrudgingly on my part, but
you can follow her, not me. She's our outward face.
So TRX has a website, trxcapfund.com. And then we also have our Instagram, TRX Cap Fund. And I am on Instagram and LinkedIn at Brittney_Fairweather. And that is how you can get us.
Yeah. Very fun. It is a challenge to constantly keep up with social media. So I understand the hesitation.
It's necessary, but it's challenging for sure.
We call it the necessary evil and the labor of love, because it's a lot of work.
And I struggle with wanting to be genuine. So I feel like sometimes it can come off as disingenuous. And that's really the only reason I say it begrudgingly, is because I just, want it to be human. You don't want to do something
just to do it for the
algorithm. Exactly. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, you've been in the industry and the working world for a few years, right? What are some of the challenges that you have faced as professional women?
Oh,
That says it all.
It really does. We're in real estate and finance, two very traditionally male dominated spaces. And like we mentioned before, when we first started, it was the Wild West in, private lending. And we were young, we were a group of women, and it was hard to get, taken seriously. Brittany and I are very lucky that we had a female leader and mentor, and she, Trixie Castro really is amazing. And she was our fearless leader. She was there. She took a brunt of a lot and really stood up for us and pushed for us to be taken seriously and being given opportunities. We never really took, no for an answer. Like, you don't belong here. Yes, we do. And so, but it's definitely been hard. It's definitely, especially, it's very conservative spaces. It's very, old school spaces where, it was like, you need to dress a certain way, you need to act a certain way, you need to be a certain way. And, I think we were constantly up against that of how do we, remain true to ourselves, and navigate these spaces without, really changing who we are.
Brings back some memories.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's getting better. We still have a long way to go. It is exciting, seeing a lot of the younger women coming into the space, and really kind of, taking the reins, taking over, sometimes from family businesses, or feeling empowered to, enter a space that traditionally, hasn't really been in the forefront for women. And I think that's why, we're so passionate about really female empowerment, building us up, and really, forging those connections within the industry as well.
Absolutely. That's great. Well, I know you are a long way from this, but tell me about your retirement vision.
Oh, I think in retirement, I don't know. I think I would want to do something completely unrelated to anything I've done in my life on, a day-to-day basis. I think I kind of feel the same way about things that I read. I get asked that question, like, what's your favorite book that you most recently read? And usually it's something that completely takes me away from my reality. And so I think in retirement, I would want to do something that was very different from what I spent, years and years and years doing. And I've thought about, doing something with underprivileged youth or at-risk youth, just because that was, something that was close to my heart when I was younger. And I think that's probably where I'd go, something where I can just be available to love and nurture, maybe kids who didn't have as much, love and affection and attention when they were growing up, or as they were growing up. So
That's beautiful. Beautiful. How about you, Brittany?
I mean, now I'm going to just.
I know it's hard to follow that one up, right? I'm like, oh,
Brittany's going to spend her golden years.
I'm going to be on the beach.
It's really just because my kids are going to be grown and I'm going to need someone to snuggle. It's really, that's what it's about.
I mean, I want the traditional things, right? I mean, I want to, I'm hoping that, especially being in, in the finance space, real estate space, I think, really making sure that I have a foundation where I can be comfortable in retirement. I mean, especially for, people of our age or in this millennial generation, Social Security is, I don't know, how long are we going to have to work? So I think, really doing the things now to make sure that, I'm making the right financial decisions, not, overextending and saving for retirement, so that when we do get to that age, I can travel, I can, be secure. Maybe also have something to leave my kids when I'm gone. I mean, really just, I don't have huge aspirations of grandeur. I just want to not have to be still working when I'm 80 to, just live. Right. So I think that's my, that's my retirement.
That sounds great. Yep. I hear you. I hear you. On the same, as far as books go, I love to read, and I could read, like, I read so many novels, but then like you, when I have to read I'd rather it be like a historical fiction, and I'll just plow through that. And a perfect example is on Sunday, I went to go sit on my deck to read E-Myth. It's just a business owner book. And like within 5 pages, I was doing the nod. I was just like, oh my God, if this were any other book, I'd be like, oh, I can't put it down. I can't put it down. But anytime I pick up a book that I have to learn from, doing the nod.
Yeah. It's that school. It's like that school, like back in school where it just immediately just starts making you sleepy.
Yeah, because it's like, the books are supposed to be my escape, not but it is what it is. But lovely, lovely ideas, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been such a pleasure.
It was wonderful to meet you and chat with you.
Yeah. Thank you. And thanks everyone else for joining us. Again, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. You can follow me on Facebook at Forge Wealth, as well as YouTube and Instagram, and LinkedIn, Regina McCann-Hess. And thank you so much. Have a great day.